Welcome back everyone, Fiona and Faith Friday today. So as you can probably tell, this Friday is going to be a little bit different. Last week we mentioned talking to you about a tool that we learned from when we were at Tony Robbins. So today we're going to just share with you guys a little bit of that.
So what we're going to talk about is the three major fears that every human being tries to avoid in their life. The first one is not being good enough. And if I'm not good enough, then I won't be loved. And if I'm not loved, then I may not belong, or someone may reject me because of it. So what we're going to do is Faith is brave enough to share a story of her childhood. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how that all works with the three major fears and whether we empower ourselves or disempower ourselves.
So for me personally, when I was at school, I was at two different high schools. When I was at school, I had an ideal in my head of how I wanted to be as a person, and that always didn't necessarily fit in with the majority of people, which made me feel quite isolated.
So in a way, what Faith is saying is that she stood up for what she believed in. All right, so she had an idea of being good enough, but because she actually had a belief system that she needed to fit in with other people, they had the power of judgment. Whereas she actually said, I'm going to be strong and stand up for myself. But because her rule was that I needed to fit in and I needed to be good enough and I needed to be loved and I needed to have a sense of belonging that was in the hands of somebody else, that's a really disempowered way to think about life, whereas she really had a powerful way of being. So in that moment, she had an empowering story and a disempowering story. But when she was a child, because she looked at her fears, I think what started to happen is she started to feel
disempowered, alone, rejected, I didn't belong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so therefore, it probably brought feelings of sadness.
Yeah, I was very upset. Like, I felt so isolated and so alone that no one understood who I was, pretty much.
And that's natural. Most people will feel that way. But the thing is that when you have pain and she had to fit in with what other people expected, her pain moves to suffering because she had no way of changing it because the power is in somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
So now that you know who you are more, when you look at that story, how do you feel about the way that you stood up for yourself?
I actually feel super empowered, and I'm not going to sit here and say that every second of that was perfect because I was very young and I grew along the way. But now I absolutely love who I am. I love being different. I love that my name is Faith and no one has that name, when before I hated it because it wasn't normal. Yeah.
So in a way, what Faith has done is she's actually now taken ownership over who she is. So the first thing is that she's actually taken her judgment back, and when she's taken control of her judgment, she now has the ability to say, well, I belong, and I belong somewhere because I'm empowered. So the main message that we have here is Faith always had both stories available to her. She had the empowered story and she had the disempowered story.
Yeah.
And often what you'll find is the disempowered story will come from your head and your focus is outward. And when she actually empowered herself, the story, the crux of the story has never changed. But now I think what she's saying is that she actually has a story that is inward. And her story now comes from her heart and her soul.
Yeah.
And now she has purpose and meaning in her story that is actually way more empowering than the other people who judged you. So the purpose of sharing this today is we wanted to encourage you to actually find your empowering story in the story or the experiences that you've had in life.
And from personal experience, from me changing my disempowering story to an empowering story, it's interesting to see how my environment has completely changed for the better and encouraging other people. It's not about being selfish, it's about empowering myself so I can empower everyone else around me. So,
Love it.
That's it for this Fiona and Faith Friday. Hope to see you next week. Stay tuned.
Bye.